It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
It is a very warm welcome to my good old mate, long-time sparring partner in terms of broadcasting, and we celebrate 100 episodes.
Apologise to me!
Mark Watson joins us here in the studio. May I say, first and foremost, thank you so much. 100 episodes. We haven't paid you a single cent during that time. You've been so generous with yours. Thoroughly enjoy it. You get a great response from the audience. And if you want to text a message into Mark or call him, 5050, he's here for an hour. So, mate, you're one of the few, and this is what I love about you so much, that is constantly prepared to stick the neck out, to have an opinion, to have your say, and you don't mind copping it on the chin. You know, you don't mind, acknowledging the fact that you get it wrong every now and again, but you cut through the BS and you can't stand the cheese factory that is just constantly trying to feed us a narrative that most of us know is BS. So, high praise to you, and thank you for everything you've done for us on this program, mate.
Look, thank you, Martin. It's been an absolute privilege. I will say, look, this whole thing for me, sports broadcasting, it's just been a passion. It's been a childhood dream. It's never been about the money. Now, the wife might argue that in more recent times. I've never said no to anything. I say yes to every opportunity. If I'm not doing radio, I hopefully have a microphone in my hand. I last year in December, I was picking up a microphone for an Auckland swim meet, which was 12-year-old kids and under. And I remember, I think it was Hannah McLean from Olympic swimmer comes up to me, and her daughter or son was swimming and said, "Oh, this is a bit below your pay grade, isn't it?" I was just like, no, I'm here and I'm still learning and I'm still doing swimming and I'm still watching and I'm still staying in touch with the sport and I'm still having to call breaststroke, backstroke, freestyle. And it's still a reasonably high standard. And that's very much been my mantra. That's very much been my philosophy. And I say this to people who have a dream, and want to chase maybe something that a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you're dreaming. Just take a mainstream job, or you're never going to achieve that in sport." Firstly, dream gets you out of bed. Dreams are good, but just say yes. Just say yes to everything. Never say no. You're always going to learn something, aren't you, Martin? In regards to having an opinion. I grew up, and not so much grew up, but, I used to listen to you when Radio Sport first came along and looked up to guys like Brendan Telfer and the Murray Deekers. And, I just have an honest opinion. As I said, it gets you into trouble these days. It's not, I've never been a coward wise after the fact. I'll call it. I don't always get it right. I didn't think that we'd potentially win the World Cup in 2015. I didn't feel Dan Carter was the right guy. And it was, and I know for a fact that they gave him the French quarterfinal. That was his chance. If he didn't do it then, he was dropped. And so, of course, we know the rest is history, and people constantly jump on the phone, "Oh, you said this and you said that," and they proved you wrong. I said, yeah, but I also said Lance Armstrong was a drag cheat before anybody ever said it, because I've been in the game, I know the sport. And you win some and you lose some.
You do. And the whole thing about this is that it is an opinion job. We could sit here and read through a list of results. We could sit here and do interviews about a whole lot of sport, which is very worthy and it deserves attention, but it's not exciting and it's not sexy and it's not going to grip you and you're not going to probably stay listening to it. The whole thing I think about sport is most of us these days know what's going on. We know the fixture list. We know when the games are played. We read all the news. We go to the websites. What I want as a sports fan is I want to hear people discussing, debating it, but also arguing about it and having a point of view that I can actually go, oh, I didn't think of that. And that to me is the whole point of the job. It's nothing other than that. In the end, there is no right or wrong apart from the score. And I've always had that mantra in sports broadcasting. We can argue about whether the All Blacks deserve to win in Cape Town. And you can fashion an argument that says, "Oh, we had that, we just about did." I'll argue that in that particular case, no, we didn't. No one's right or wrong here. The only thing that is right or wrong is the score. And I think people have just got to keep that in mind. But you can't do what we do without a bit of yin and yang. There is going to be some provocation. There are going to be people that dislike you, and there are going to be those that even take that to a level which is just psychotic and nasty. And obviously those people need some help in other areas. But that's what the job is, Mark.
Yeah, you look, absolutely. And I always say this. I don't care if 50% of people hate me, 50% of people love me. I just want 100% of people listening to me. If I come out on a hard-hitting opinion, it happened over the weekend on my son's radio rugby show. and people send in the abuse. And I'm like, you know what? I've done my job. I've got a level of engagement. I've forced you to get on and text me. As far as I'm concerned, I have stewed your emotions. There's a level of engagement. Now, I'm not going out with the deliberate intent of trying to do that. I'm still speaking from the heart. I'm calling it as I see it. You don't have to agree with me. But yeah, the abuse at times, I guess, over the years has got a little bit out of control. And my general line is when people get on the phone and call me, I was like, mate, did you miss the day at school when you were 5? Did you miss the day at school on how to switch your radio off or use the off button? Point is, why are you still listening to me?
If you don't like it and you hate me,
is life
that's right.
just so damn good for you? Can I be you? Because clearly the only thing of concern in your life is my opinion on a radio station. Can I be you? Because clearly everything else is brilliant if I'm all you've got to worry about. But yeah, look, it's good fun, isn't it? I mean, it's great fun.
That is it in a sentence, mate. It is great fun.
It is great
It's meant
fun.
to be fun. And we're having fun, and hopefully you are listening having fun. I've got a couple of questions before we actually go to some issues of the day. Because if we're going to sit here and talk about you for a whole hour, I'm leaving. Because this is my show.
It's your show. It's always been your show, mate.
Your highlights, and I'd like these are my highlights. Obviously, the Apologise to Me. Obviously, it's too damn hard. Those are broadcasting. They are immortal now, those sayings. And I remember coming in after you did the too damn hard about Lydia Ko, and you want to try and paddle a canoe and all of this kind of stuff.
So that goes back to when the Halberg Awards and Lydia Ko at 16 was nominated or given the award, and I'm like, yeah, but because she's 16 or because she's actually won something? And it was because she was 16. And my argument was, and at this point I'm not sure that Lisa Carrington was still necessarily in favour. My point was, where's the due diligence here? Again, is this just a popularity contest?
Well, this is the Halberg Awards, and that judging panel I've had massive criticism on for a long time. Those two things, I came in after that day that you said that, and I went searching for it on the computer, and I found it. And I must admit, I sat there afterwards and I thought to myself, it's very rare in broadcasting that I get sat on my bum and I go, this guy's just done something that I wish that I'd done. And when we were working with homes, that used to happen all the time. When I was working with Hosking, it happened quite a lot. But when it happens in sport, I really sit up, take notice and go, okay, what is this guy doing that I really like? And how do I do more of that? Because that's the engagement that I want.
Yeah, equally too, Martin. I'll be honest, you've had a huge influence, and I'll sometimes just go off the cuff and bring a little bit more theatre to what I do and do my little rants and stand away from the microphone. And there are parts of Martin Devlin, the broadcaster, that I occasionally bring to shows when I'm sitting behind the desk. Very hard to do it when you're on a telephone doing a little interview. But I can say the Apologise to Me, which was when Hansen came out after we'd lost to the Wallabies and sort of was, oh, you know, the sun will come up in the morning. I'm like, we've just lost a damn All Black test, mate. Neither of the Apologise to Me or It's Too Damn Hard were rehearsed. None of it was written. No. It was just purely off the cuff, in the spirit of the moment. I had no idea. I didn't have any of it preordained. And I still think that's the best when you don't preordain it.
This is the whole beauty of exactly what it is we actually do.
Apologise to me!
Highlights for you would have to be calling the Olympics. I've been to a couple of Olympics. I keep knobbing on about this. But being at that event, seeing those athletes, seeing the world come together like that, it is a really special experience on a whole lot of levels, isn't it? You can't not be affected by it as a human being, because it's something that unless you've been there and put yourself right at that place where you see the flame, you see human beings from 205, 210 countries, and they all look different. And there's something quite weird about the fact that they're all within you're bumping past them, you're seeing them every day. It's on a human level. And then of course you get the athletic achievement of it as well. And to be able to sit there and call at that level, that's a gift that I haven't got, and I wish that I did have.
Yeah, and it's taken time too. You know, I was the rock band. I picked up microphones for live events from about 98 onwards and just went to every single event around the country doing, welcome home in a time of 9 hours and 22 minutes, and learning this and waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the opportunity, one day dreaming that I wanted to be on Radio Sport after listening to you guys. You know, when I was in the fifth form at Mount Abbott Grammar School in same school Lachlan went to, by the way, mighty Mount Abbott Grammar, just behind us.
Yeah, we're in St. Luke's, people. That's where it goes from.
So, and I remember doing this fifth form project where we had to put a radio segment together, and I did the sports news, and I did some commentary of an athlete winning the 1500 metre final at the Olympics, and it got rave reviews. I took a radio and put it out a tune in the background. It sounded like a crowd, and so I'd always wanted to be their commentator. And and the opportunity came in 2008 after having built a bit of a portfolio of local work, and it was a childhood dream came true. I remember going out for dinner in Beijing, and I was sitting down there with Keith Quinn, Brendan Telfer,
Macbeth.
John Macbeth, Peter Montgomery, and also Peter Williams. And here I was. And
that's about almost 200 years of experience at that table.
And I was dumped in the deep end. I was the expert for road cycling, track cycling, the triathlon, the open water swimming. And I'd fulfilled that. There was a lot, like anything, I just found a way of getting there. And then lucky enough that has moved on and I've been able to progress. So what has been hard for me is, and I do get emotional talking about it, not having my dad here. He was a huge influence on me. He went to the 1964 Olympics and watched Peter Snell. And I remember we were supposed to go to the Olympics in 1980 and travelling around as a family. And then because of the boycott came, we didn't go. So we would sit down. We went around Europe in a camper van instead and went to sort of a bit of an educational trip. And he'd sit down and tell me the stories of Arthur Lydiard. And that really inspired me and wanted me to be an athlete. And I remember sitting at the London Olympics, and one of the hardest things you can do in broadcasting is call a 100-metre final. People do not realise you've got 10 seconds to get this damn thing right. Sometimes it can be photo finishes.
Well, look at the guy that called the last one. Yeah. When there's 5 of them within 0.2 of a second or something crazy.
And I've worked with him. I did 2018 together on the track and field. But I also remember getting a text, and I was sitting in the stadium. Nigel Avery, the chef de mission for the Olympics, was my co-commentator. And I got a text from a close family friend saying, your dad would be proud. And I just sort of burst, I just burst into tears in that moment.
You're calling the 100-metre final at the Olympics.
Yeah, but to me it was more to me the dream race is the 1,500 metres. That's what I wanted to do. But it's interesting. Just another little story, and we can move on and start talking about you, Martin, because it's your show. We do know it's your show, isn't it, Martin?
It is.
It's Martin's show.
It's my show, mate.
But I always remember, vividly remember 1976 and Walker winning, and I would have only been 5. But I remember sitting in our lounge in Mount Albert, and just remembering this thing on TV. And Walker putting his arms in a V.
Yes, brilliant.
It was only later on in the 80s that I started to go back and understand the context of the boycott. But I listened to Keith Quinn's commentary, and when you establish yourself as a commentator, and we've had these discussions when we've, I guess, critiqued Sky commentators at times, there are just subtleties. There is a template for it. There's sort of a rule book where you let things breathe. And Keith Quinn's commentary was actually superb. He wins, he lets Walker celebrate, then he comes in with a great line in the footsteps of, Lovelock, Snell, John Walker, whatever it was. But it was a wonderful moment. And so, that really inspired me to want to then be an athlete, but also be a commentator. And that was 1976. It was Keith Quinn was one of those guys that inspired me. And it's funny, a lot of people don't realise this, that Keith Quinn called that gold medal in 76. His next gold medal that he called was actually Valerie Adams in 2012. So that's how long he went between drinks. And so in 2016, I walk into a studio. So I watched Keith call this in 1976 when I was 5 years of age. It inspired me to want to be a commentator. In 2016, I walk into the commentary box in Rio. We're going to call Valerie Adams, and my co-commentator's Keith Quinn.
Wow!
And that was 40 years.
Wow.
40 years. And there I am sitting there, and Michelle Carter of the United States, off the very last throw, takes gold from Valerie. But I've been lucky. I was there in the stadium. I called Valerie Adams getting beaten by Ostapchuk. Now, Nigel Avery and I knew she was a drug cheat, but we couldn't say that. We just had to celebrate her moment. The microphones went off, and boy, we had cheating, But back in, well, wonderful moment for the, And then obviously calling the shared gold medal in the high jump in Tokyo was pretty special. But wasn't heard here also the official archive of Lisa Carrington in 221 winning 3 gold medals and doing all of that. So not bad for a young man who grew up in Mount Albert.
I got another one on the other side of the glass. His name is Lachlan Moore. My name is Martin Devlin. Mark Watson is in the studio with us. It's the 100th episode of the Apologise to Me podcast. Look at the texts that are coming. Here we go. Watto, I love your work. Never change. Haters going to hate. Martin, I love Mark's straight-up responses and keep calling out the big sports organisations, especially New Zealand cricket. It all comes from a passion for sports. I love it. I love that text, Gavin. Thank you so much for that, because that's where it comes from. It comes from a position of caring. And look, we might get on and we might have a moan and we might have a bitch and you might get a bit sick of it sometimes. But the way that sport is these days, it is so covered in cheese. There is mozzarella piled on the parmesan, piled on the tasty gravy. And they want us to be painted into a corner where basically we're a couple of moaning gits because, the audience will get sick of it eventually. But I think that there's enough truth out there amongst sports fans that people actually know and they recognise BS when they see it. The New Zealand sports fan is a very educated sports fan to me. And our role is not to buy into the PR narrative that these sports teams, organisations keep ramming down our throats. I mean, if we do, I don't think we're doing our job. I think our job, look, and there's a fine line and a balance, of course, because, praise be where praise due. And at times it might sound like, oh, God, you guys don't like sport. I love sport. I love it. But what I hate about sport is I hate the lies and I hate the BS and I hate the PR schmuck. That's what I hate about it.
Yeah, and I just hate the way certain sports are put up on a pedestal versus others. I hate the way that we've got a media who constantly talk about equity and all of this and do a lot of virtue signalling, but then when it comes to the coverage of, say, so-called minor sports or actually huge global sports, if it doesn't fit their commercial or doesn't make sense commercially for them, they won't cover it. And I find that a hypocrisy. Look, just quickly on that, though, but I always remember, Murray Deaker was good. I'd come back from the Beijing Olympics. I'd got great write-ups and the passion and energy I brought to it. And he phoned me up and said, I'd like you to come on Deaker on sport. He go, what do you know about other sport? And I just said everything. I needed the opportunity. And I did that show. And Murray pulled me aside. He had a little twinkle in his eye and he said, mate, I'd let you go now in terms of putting me on radio. But he did say to me, he goes, man, you are going to upset a lot of people. and I remember getting an opportunity on Radio Sport and I was going after the cricketers because I'd grown up playing cricket. And then I got into this triathlon background. This is a time where, we had the Brat Pack and, very much cricket was around about potential retirement. And we had all these talented guys like Hens and Perori, but not a lot of application. And I remember going hard on them. And I was going hard on Brendan McCullum back then. And to be fair, Brendan later turned it all around and admit that they were prima donnas. And a guy rings me up and he says, I'm sick and tired of you bagging the cricketers, mate. Why don't you get Brendan McCullum on your show? And I just sat there and I said, I'd love to. I said, this is a smoke-free building. We don't allow alcohol on the premises. And then I just cut him off. And I think with that, right there, I probably established who I was going to be as a broadcaster.
This is the platform. iOS, It's Only Sport, brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected. Don't feed the trolls, go the Panthers is another one. And, mate, I missed the nights. Mark was on 8 till midnight on Radio Sport. He did a fantastic job. And what happened to Liverpool on the weekend, it was a shameful display. I don't know if it was a shameful display from Liverpool. I think that Forest played a damn good game.
They did.
Forest played a tactical game like United did against City in the FA Cup final. They were never going to outplay you. But what they did is they took the chance that they got and they rode a bit of luck and they defended for their lives. And in football, that's how you have to... Look, the All Whites did it, got out of jail against the United States last week. We basically punted for touch. That's what we did. We played a territory game, didn't we? We had maybe one or two chances, and then we get the most monkey goal there is. But at 1-1 in the 89th minute against a side that's ranked 16th in the world, you take it every day because that's a game of football. And Forest will walk away from Anfield absolutely thrilled with that. They won't get many wins on the road, and it could... But every time you lose, I dance. I hope you can hear me dancing.
I can, Martin. Mate, you're the only guy I think of. But I make sure that when I do think of you, Martin, I have my clothes on.
1:33 it is. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we're going to play a little game of glass half full, where I'm going to give you a topic and you're going to tell me in about 30 seconds or less whether it's glass half empty, glass half full.
Apologise to me!
On the text, hi guys, I've listened to the two of you for years. Love your honesty, thanks, and keep going. And look, I'm trying to translate this text, and I'm no disrespect, caller, but you're obviously doing it on the road or on the hurry or something. First, listen to Mark when the All Blacks that were keen on the 2016 Olympics, Steve Hansen was the All Blacks coach, and one by one changed their mind.
So he's talking about the sevens. And I went hard on it because I think back in 2014, we'd had Steve Chu, the CEO, come out and talk about the plan for the future. And the two prior focuses were the 2015 World Cup and the 2016 Olympics. We'd had Artie Severe, Ben Smith, number of players saying, I wanted to go. Right, yes. And then somehow they were subtly coerced. Right. And you can do it without saying you can't go. But, hey, by the way, Bodie, this young kid, Richie Mwang, is starting to look pretty good. Boy, I tell you what, 3 tests against the Welsh in June and...
Gordon Titchens, remember. I remember talking to him off air, and he wouldn't come on air and say it, but he was
livid,
absolutely livid. This is part of the problem with New Zealand sport as well, because of the micromanagement of New Zealand rugby and the fact that we are a very small market, and that trying to get people to actually say things to you on air is a hell of a challenge sometimes. They'll tell you everything that you want to know off the air.
But let's be honest, mate. I've basically been cancelled because of it. I mean, in this marketplace, would I do the same thing again? Absolutely,
every single day.
Because,
why not? because you're still here and you're surviving, mate.
And it's who I am, mate. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm not the media companies that are constantly falling over because of the approach they take. You look at our style of radio, you look at our style of broadcasting, and look at what in America is the biggest. It's hard-hitting opinion. The most profitable, highest rating shows in the world, mate. You look at Mike Hosking on ZB, high driven. You look at Chris Ratto in the Herald, mate.
Sky TV,
but I tell you what does everybody else do? Oh, we can't do that, though, because we're scared of Dana Johansson putting this on the front page.
Glass. Oh, right. Okay, we are. Glass half full.
We need to talk.
It's your favourite game, Mark.
We need to talk.
Next! I'm going to give you a topic. You're going to tell me whether it's glass half full, glass half empty. Josh Addo-Carr at the Bulldogs. Stay or go? You glass half empty on this? Or glass half full?
Oh, half full. Stay.
Yeah?
It's rugby league, man. You cannot bring the game in disrepute. I mean, they've had everything over the years, haven't they? They've had cocaine on the back of urinals, hookers, you name it. They've had it all, mate. You cannot bring rugby league down. It's part of the brand. It's part of the product. It's who they are. God, I wish at times, sometimes, at least rugby would have these narratives, good and bad. Not all the time, but God, wouldn't it be nice if we just had the narrative?
Every week, rugby league. I'm with you, mate.
Rugby league are actually a metaphor of who we are as humans. We are flawed, man. Stop trying to make out we're not.
Next!
The new Super Rugby Finals format where 6 teams go in, and then after the first weekend, 4 go through to the next round, despite the fact that there's only 3 winners. You do the math.
Sorry, I'm already confused, Martin. Look, I'm half empty on this thing, man. I mean, Super Rugby is just... the whole thing is a disaster. As I said, All Black rugby is all we've got left, and for those reasons, I just want to start picking players now from overseas that have been All Blacks.
Same.
Because
I'm there now.
I never used to be there, but they don't care about the domestic game. The domestic game is so far down the gurgler. If the All Blacks is all we're interested in, let's just have a winning All Black side. So let's just start picking the Aaron Smiths and whoever's playing overseas who still technically would be good enough to be a damn All Black. Look, I mean, if you're going to have a format, why don't you have 6 teams? The top 2 teams have a week off. The other 4 teams play each other. And then you have a semi-final and you move. What is it with all of this?
Oh, no, it's because they're trying to screw more money out of it. And 3 games on the first weekend of the finals means 1 more game they can sell advertising around. They can go to the broadcasters. We've got
if they actually want to draw greater income in, stop sending your damn executive around the world, first class, staying in damn hotels, and then labelling it like, oh, I know, but we're doing it.
Well, we're shaking. We're making plans. We're planning for meetings. We're actually proposing talks, mate.
I want the meeting. Or maybe we can do this in 12 months' time. I want to go back to Mark Robertson off the back of the trip to San Diego and go, can you show me the contracts in place, the revenue that's come in off the back of the meetings you had in San Diego,
in Silicon
which
Valley.
saw you go up there. So what are the sponsors from Silicon Valley? Where's the income stream?
Where's the investment?
Where is it all? Where is the investment? Because, man, you talked it up.
You did.
Next!
The Ranfurly Shield. Now, glass half full, glass half empty. Obviously, this is a lay-down, Missy. It's a glass half full, isn't it? What you saw in the weekend, Lansdowne Road, Tasman playing Wellington, not fit for purpose. You tell every single person that was in that ground that that's not fit for purpose. And the amount of people that were... I tuned in on Sunday afternoon. She said to me, what are we doing? I said, we're watching the Ranfurly Shield this afternoon. Why? And I said, because this is going to be a cracking match.
Did she watch it with you?
She didn't watch it with me. But that didn't matter, though. I got my way and I watched that match. But you look at that and you just
think you got your way, Mark. She hasn't spoken to you for 2 days.
You look at that match and you look at the crowd and you look at the interest and you look at that silly old trophy and it still retains. Now, New Zealand rugby, despite your best efforts, as you say, of tossing all of this down the gurgler, it's fighting for survival out there without you doing a thing about it. So why don't you just jump on top of it and support the goddamn thing?
Look, I agree. And it is. It's just actually about putting some emphasis and resource into it. I'm just trying to see how does the game play out without the NPC? Where did the Super Rugby players come from? What, straight out of high school?
Mate. They come
straight out of academies, straight out of high school.
Academies, mate.
So we just continue to pick big kids, put them in academies. NPC, senior club rugby, it's just a great leveler in terms of taking size out of the equation. It's always been the point of difference, having that 3rd tier of professional rugby. Yep. It needs to be an amateur comp, though.
I can't remember who the left winger was for Tasman, Lachlan. His name was it Kyron?
Boy, great try.
We spoke to Gray Cornelius yesterday, the Tasman coach, and Tony Johnson mentioned it on the commentary on the weekend as well.
Did you have to go through a million media people to get a coach?
No, we actually just went to Hugh Bain. He was bloody good about it. But what the thing is this kid, Marlborough Boys High or Marlborough, whatever the college is, no academies. What was his name?
Kyron Tomo Falau.
There we go. No academies. He's slipped through the cracks.
Jack Goodhue, no academies, no national teams, no nothing. Mate.
Brodie Retallick, slipped through the cracks. No academy.
Next.
Glass half full, glass half empty. The Warriors winning the NRL next year.
Oh, half empty. Mate, you got to be.
I'm serious because look, the Warriors have done the best. I got to say, the Warriors marketing department and their promotional department and the narrative they feed the media is first class. Over the weekend, they put out a whole lot of wonderful stats about filling the ground and selling subscriptions, all of this kind of stuff. 2 weeks to go in the competition this year. It was all about Sean Johnson's farewell. I tell you what, they can get a turd and they can polish that thing up, and people sit there and they pour tomato sauce on it and they eat it with chips, don't they? The Warriors season sucked. Now, no one in the sporting media in New Zealand has put their hand up and actually in any way done any critical analysis of that team. And now we're talking...
Because
I actually heard on the news this morning, mate, I heard about, there's an article in the Herald, I think it is, about, the changes that the Warriors need to win the premiership next year. I just about drove off the road. I was laughing so hard. I said, what changes do you need? You need another 23 players, for God's sake. You telling me that squad's winning a premiership next year? It's not.
Well, you've got to shift the model. I've said this. There's a difference between being a professional athlete and an elite athlete. At the moment, our club are about professional athletes pretending to be elite athletes. And that's where the shift has got to be. There's no jeopardy these days. The problem is, though, mate, if you are negative in the media, you know how it does. You get shut out of the press conferences.
Yeah,
they don't want to talk to you.
It's hard to
You're
get
not pushing our narrative, are you?
It.
But, just on that, and I'm going off on a tangent here. Here's New Zealand rugby again this year. Sky Television having to negotiate the rugby rights again this year. So, 4 or 5 years ago, paid $480 million for the next four or 5 years. What have they done over the years to secure that investment? Nothing. Because they actually haven't allowed for any engagement. They don't create the narratives. They don't create the... No, but Sky TV have done nothing, have they? They've been complicit in basically being a PR firm. Yeah. And then they've got to try and somehow renegotiate on a product that's in decline here. And you just sit there and go, Sky, how dumb are you? You're buying into what Sky want. You're basically, they want you to be the PR firm, but it's actually in your better interest not to be the PR firm. But they're all just so damn terrified, aren't they? They are just so damn terrified.
Next!
Glass half full, glass half empty. The White Ferns' chances of winning the first T20 match against Australia on Thursday.
Oh, you're such a chauvinist, Martin. You're such a misogynist, Martin.
They've lost 8 in a row to England.
How dare you criticise women's sport, Martin?
Okay, so when this team was announced, I looked...
Are you listening? Dana, write a headline about us.
I went through all the mainstream media sites just to see what... And all the articles about the experience that we're bringing to the T20 World Cup. Sophie Devine and Amelia... And I read it and I thought...
Are they happy?
Well,
are they smiling?
I would hope so. But you look at it and go... Where is any analysis on this team that's in a rotten run of results? And it is a rotten run of results. There is none of that. There is no scrutiny. There's no nothing. Now, I wouldn't mind if this team wasn't rammed down our throats so much about how good they are and all of this and the amount of money, all of this kind of stuff, if somebody was honest about it. And that's the only thing I actually ask. It's the same as every single women's professional side. Treat it with some honesty, and then you treat it with respect. If you don't treat it with honesty, you're patronising.
No, exactly, and that's why I'm not afraid to come out. That's why I'm not afraid to come out. I'm actually just showing you respect by criticising you. So I'm happy to go week after week on the appalling performances of the Warriors when the All Blacks underperform. People will be very aware of me for a long time when it comes to cricket. Hey, you guys have got parity. You're on par. You're earning 120,000 minimum plus match fees. I am going to come after you. You can't throw. You can't catch. You don't look that fit. You're club athletes. And I'm not afraid to say it. It doesn't make me a sexist. It doesn't make me misogynist. It just makes me bloody honest. And whether you like it or not, deep down, you know I'm right.
That's the truth.
And I've actually got a background in sport, having chased some pretty big ambitious things and train to actually say, you know what, I've actually got the credibility to be able to say that. And I hate this stuff. Have you ever tried to play the game?
As a matter of fact.
Don't criticise.
I have, and I'm absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, but also too, it's like, that's just such the sort of, dismissive quote, isn't it?
Look, I'm not getting a salary of 160 grand a year for pretending I'm a cricketer.
Next!
Glass half full, glass half empty. Melbourne and Penrith meet in the grand final.
Half full, 100%. I mean, it's almost a guarantee, isn't it? I mean, who's going to tip either up?
Look, we saw this last year as well, and this is another thing that Warriors fans
Manly
have
good enough to go on a run?
Well, this is another thing that Warriors fans have to get their head around. Because this year we talked about, we've got a squad to win a premiership. What were the scores last year in the 2 finals games against Penrith and Brisbane? One of them was 32-6. I think the other was 42-12. We shipped 74 points in those games and weren't close. So we got into the top 4, but we weren't close to the grand final at all, okay? And now we've won 9 games out of 24. So that's the reality of it. And you can sell out the ground as many times as you like, and you can tell us till you're blue in the face that opening a bar and selling heritage jerseys is working. It is for the marketing side of the club, but in terms of the performance on the field, this club has gone backwards at a huge rate of knots, and something has to seriously change upstairs. I'm talking about the mindset if you actually want to be considered a contender, not a pretender. Because at the moment, the Warriors in this league are irrelevant. They are, in terms of the finals and the best teams in it, they are irrelevant. And those 2 teams, Melbourne and Penrith, did on the weekend what Penrith and Brisbane did last year. They smashed the other 2 teams. Smashed them, right? Is that going to happen again? Not this weekend, but the next weekend? Yes, it is. Those 2 teams are making the final, Mark. Absolutely they are.
Next.
Glass half full, glass half empty. The Black Caps winning this first test against Sri Lanka starting tomorrow.
We won't win the first test. We're just not good enough. I mean,
we haven't prepared for it, mate.
But again, and you can blame the pitch in India, and you can blame the Afghanistan Cricket Administration, who is involved in that debacle. But when it's all said and done, here's another key series that New Zealand go in underprepared for. And someone at New Zealand Cricket needs to take some account. But it doesn't matter if we lose, because Tim Southee potentially could get 400.
There goes the
there's the narrative.
See,
let's shift
right.
it. Let's forget the bigger picture. Let's forget the real issue. Let's just sell a little battle. Forget about the war. Let's just talk about the little battle that we did when Tim Southee. I mean, if you're all fair, where's the media actually questioning this guy's place in the team? When was the last time Tim Southee bowled us to a victory? Great player, but now it's Tim Southee. It's the tail wagging the dog, but Tim Southee's going to decide where he wants to go. He wants 400 test wickets. He's automatic selection. He will... what about just being absolutely ruthless? Look what they've just done recently with Anderson in England. Brendan McCullum has pulled him aside and said, hey, look, mate,
enough's enough.
You're still performing,
yeah,
but we need to start bringing some younger guys through. We want to give you a send-off. We want to do this with real class and dignity. We want to have the open lines of communication, but your time is up.
Time is up.
And then they'll keep saying but there is no one else.
Well, I tell you what, there was a couple of guys last year who bowled against Australia, or earlier this year.
I would rather have no one else who wants to play for New Zealand than a has-been that once did something that's now really just using it as a platform to make money. Apologise to me!
Mark Watson with us. Little break, we'll come back and we'll go to the All Blacks press conference to wrap up the hour and the 100th episode of the Apologise to Me podcast. Codie Taylor, we'll take a whole lot of quotes from him. We'll talk some more cricket with Rahul after 3. Scott Bailey with a quick word on what's going to happen to Josh Adokar. LBP with Matt Gunn being positive out of Twizel. The Mex joining us in about half an hour with his thoughts on who the changes should be when the All Blacks play the Oz in Sydney this weekend.
Apologise to me!
We're going to wrap it up by going through Watto, these quotes from Codie Taylor at the presser yesterday. In no particular order, how much optimism do you take from the performances in the 2 South African tests?
Yeah, I think we're creating a lot of opportunities. It's just a matter of finishing them, I think, which has pretty been a common trend in our reviews of late. And take my hat off to South Africa. They know how to win test matches. They deserve the title that they have at the moment. But like you say, it's promising that we can play a brand of rugby that we're really proud of. We want to attack with the ball and stuff, and we just got to be better at nailing those opportunities, especially towards the back end of the game.
Look, I don't disagree with him, but I just don't like it when the All Blacks make excuses. And I don't want the All Blacks to ever celebrate any loss, whether it's within 4 points, 1 point, or 6 points, because that's not what the All Blacks are. The All Blacks are about winning.
Absolutely. Look, in fairness to Codie Taylor, brilliant in South Africa.
Oh, he was superb.
He was superb. He was absolutely brilliant. And you give credit to South Africa. I mean, I think we might have come 1-1 if we had played them here in New Zealand in 2 tests. What did I take out of that? Oh, we want to play an attacking, exciting style of brand of rugby. No, I just want to win, mate. I want Vern Cotter, the blue style of rugby. I just want us to win, mate. I'm not interested in losing, but God, we played the way William Webb Ellis wanted us to play.
Do you feel as a forward pack that you are taking steps forward?
We're proud of a few things. There's we had an honest review today around some of our set piece stuff and how we can be better. But at the same time, there's a lot of work going in. Sort of boys putting their hand up, and there is a lot of, I suppose, pride there around some of the things that we did create and do out there on the footy field for a couple of weeks. But it's just a start, and we've still got so much more potential to get out of this team and this pack, I think.
Yeah, I like that answer too, because look, I mean, they just haven't performed for 80 minutes. Our bench doesn't provide the impact, and also scrum wise, I thought we were great, and that especially in that second test. Lineouts, maybe not so, but I didn't criticise the forwards too much. Actually, I just think that we had plenty of opportunities to score, and we couldn't kick penalty goals, and we lost it in ways other than that forward pack.
Yeah, I guess the thing for me is when I hear, there's so much more potential for this team. This team's actually been together for a long time. There's a lot of the same bloody players in the same team.
There is.
It's next week it's all going to come together. We were talking earlier. You go back to the demolition at North Harbour Stadium when they beat South Africa 57-0. 10 players in that team are still part of the squad.
Okay, here they are. Sam Cane, Bowden Barrett, Rico McKenzie, TJ Ardy, Scott Barrett, Offa, Codie Taylor, ALB. Those 10 players played in that 57.
But there's still so much more potential. That is their ceiling. You've said it yourself. That is their ceiling. They're not going to get any better than this.
It's
8
time
years
to later,
move on.
are they going to get any better?
Just bring out the bloody baby blacks of 86 and build a dynasty for the future, mate. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't drop a test at Wallabies. They'll lift against us.
Oh, God, I hope not. I mean, that would be a massive low for the All Blacks if that's the case. How much of this pack's potential...
Have you ever played rugby, though, Martin? Do you know how hard it is, Martin? Do you know how hard life is for the All Blacks?
Senior players like yourself.
You definitely feel like you have a obligation to lead, to sort of fulfil that title, I suppose, especially with the people that were here before, that had that on their shoulders, and you want to live up to that in a way. But the great thing is around with like Jason, the pack, is like everyone's honest, and we've all got a role to play, and that's. Whatever that is, you just got to nail it when you're out there, and we're doing that at times, but to get results, you've got to do it a few more.
Yeah.
Corporate buzzwords and bullshit, mate. It's just a whole lot of just corporate speak, isn't it?
Not impressed with that.
Jason Ryan doesn't impress me.
Not impressed with that. Your form, do you feel you're playing as well as what people are saying you're playing?
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. I love being a part of this team, this environment. What the coaching groups created around the team we want to be and identify as, and taking a lot of pride in sort of working towards my own game and how that can help. But like I say, there's still stuff you want to be better at, you want to nail. As Kiwis, we often look at the things we didn't do well more so than the good, but definitely feeling really good out there. And my game's simple these days, mate. I've been around for a wee while now, so I get around the field and try and work hard, and the rest sort of comes off that.
Look, he played bloody well, but again, it just comes back to it, doesn't it? I mean, the All Blacks, the currency is winning. That's all that counts.
Yeah, and
I don't really care about anything else.
In the big games, you're not measured by what you do. You're measured by what little mistakes you didn't make. It's the mistakes you don't make is how you win the big matches. It's not necessarily so much what you do.
And this particular bunch of players are unable to close. And when you consider those 10 names that I gave you, who all played in that 57-0 in North Harbour, again, this is the question I pose people. Are any of those players going to get demonstrably better this year, next year, or the year after? They've been All Blacks for 8 years already, and we're not able to win these matches. So I'm not saying, who else do you put in?
No, but they needed another week off in Super Rugby, because that's clearly a performance enhancer. Resting during Super Rugby is a performance enhancer. I mean, it's been proven, mate.
Final quote, difference between playing the Wallabies and the Springbok forward packs.
I think resetting is an important one of where we've come from. What we did, and the challenge in itself to come over here in Sydney and pretty much dominate up front. That's what we want to do. It's not going to be easy. There's an Aussie team that some people might be talking negatively about, but we're making no assumptions and definitely not taking any of this lightly. Like, we're in Sydney, we're in their home ground. Australia can do anything on their day, and we've seen that in the past. So, there's already a bit of edge.
If we don't dick this team, man, good God, Razor, the honeymoon's over, pal. You've lost the last 3 of the last 4 tests.
Oh, I think Jason Ryan's probably I think these guys, just the press conference a few weeks ago, just the arrogance, mate. It's like, what have you done? Who are you? You're not Mike Cron yet, mate. You've only coached in the Crusaders environment. Just get over yourself, moron, and start winning.
Mark Watson, the ATM podcast. That's episode 100, mate. Thank you so much for coming in.
Privilege and a pleasure, big man.
It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.